What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Woman Intentionally podcast. I am your host, Whitney Kilgore, and I am fired up about being here on this Thursday night to talk to you ladies about fear and just ask the question, is fear controlling you? So as most of you know, I usually pre-record my podcast and then I blast them out all over Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and all those good things. But we are doing something new with the podcast. I'm going live and I want to hear from you guys. I want you to tell me where you're tuning in from, ask your questions, make your comments. And I just really want us to have some dialogue about fear and how it truly has the potential to hinder the things that God has for you. And so I figure, why not start off 2022 talking about one of the things that a lot of women struggle with, which is being fearful. So we're going to get into talking about fear tonight. So you'll see me looking down, but it's just because your girl takes notes. Okay. I've been studying on fear and just kind of, brainstorming about some of the reasons that women are fearful, that people are fearful in general. And I wanted to share that kind of stuff with you all tonight. So, so fear, right? I wanted to talk about fear because, like I said, a lot of people struggle with it. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, where does fear come from? Like, where does fear come from? You being afraid to step out and do the thing that you have been wanting to do for a while. You being able to, have a successful relationship, have good friendships, all these different things. Why is fear stopping you? And I wanted to share with you guys that based on my beliefs, and if you are Christian, we talk about God here on this podcast. God has not given us a spirit of fear. It says in the Bible in 2 Timothy 1:7 that he has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. So if God has not given us this spirit of fear, then who is this spirit of fear coming from, right? And we already know, it's the enemy. So the questions that you have to ask yourself is, why is he making me fearful? Why am I fearful? Why am I afraid to bet on myself? Why am I afraid to go after my goals, to do the things that I've been wanting to do? What have you allowed to creep in and kind of scare you and kind of make you feel like you're not capable of doing the things that you really want to do? Where is this fear coming from is the question that you have to ask yourself. I said another thing that we have to be mindful of is that when you think about what you've let creep in and start to kind of make you fearful, it's comparison. Sometimes we're afraid to do things because we're comparing ourselves to other people and we don't think we're good enough. And sometimes shows, thoughts, conversations with other people, songs, the idea of generational curses, things that may have happened in your bloodline and people that came before you. Everybody in my family was an alcoholic, so that must mean I'm going to be an alcoholic. Everybody in my family lost their mind, so that must mean I'm going to lose my mind. Like generational curses like that and things like that can be allowed to creep in and kind of make you fearful. So I'm asking you tonight, are any of those things creeping in on you? Another things are our inadequacies and our inadequacies, the things that we are not, we don't really have the skills to do just yet because we haven't found them, right? our shortcomings, and then, like I said, comparison. So I want you guys to think about those things as we move, as you move forward, as you move throughout your life, and just ask, like, what is making me fearful? And then you have to ask yourself, when you think about, man, I want to start this business, or I want to do this thing, I want to be more confident, I want to open up to this person, I want to do these things, and then all of a sudden you're fearful. What's stopping you? What are you missing out on because you're afraid to do those things? You have to think about it like this. Anytime we're fearful, it's because something greater is on the other side. Now, there are times that fear is good, right? I'm afraid to jump off a building because I'm afraid I might die, right? Those things we understand. But to just be fearful because you're afraid, because you can't be in control, because you don't know what's going to happen, that is going to stop us from doing a lot of the things that God really wants us to do. So one of the things, and another interesting thing that I found when I was researching fear and studying on fear, is the physical effects of fear. Let me read you what's going on in your body when you're fearful. This is what Webster's dictionary said. Fear weakens our immune system and can cause cardiovascular damage, gastrointestinal problems, or your stomach problems and all that kind of stuff, such as ulcers and irritable bowel syndrome, and decreased fertility, accelerated aging, and promote death. Some of y'all out here aging a lot faster because you are so stressed. And I remember being like that. I remember being like so young, man, like early 20s, and being stressed out about the things that I had going on in my life, bad decisions that your girl were making. And those things were stressing me out. And I was looking old, a lot older than I really was, because stress was taking a toll on my body. So not only is fear bad for our spirit, it's bad for your body. We're aging faster, gut is messed up. We have all these things that are going on in our body because fear does not belong there, right? And so that was interesting to me to find out. So hey D, so one of the things that fear causes spiritually, we know what it does to us physically. One of the things that fear does spiritually is it takes us hostage. Fear of being hurt in relationships will not allow you to open up to people, right? You get into a relationship, or you're in a marriage or anything, and because you have been hurt in the past, this fear can take you hostage and keep you from growing, and keep you from opening up, keep you from allowing people to love you. Like, there's somebody out there that wants to love you, but they can't, because you are so fearful that they're going to hurt you, and they've done nothing to hurt you so far, right? And those are the things that we don't even realize. We have our barriers up, and I'm guarded and all these things. But is that fear really, really justified? And fear keeps us from being vulnerable. And then it also, it really keeps you from truly being yourself. A lot of times we find it really hard to be ourselves, because we're afraid of what people are going to think of us. What are they going to think of me if they know that I have this problem, or I'm struggling in this area, or I'm doing this thing, or, I can't really be myself. I have to be a totally different person over here. And then when I get over here, I have to switch it completely up. When I'm at church and around my church friends, I act one way, but then when I'm around my ratchet friends or my other friends, I can be as crazy and, do whatever I want to do without judgment. And so fear, and then sometimes we're just doing things to fit in certain circles. Wherever we are, we want to look the part, sound the part, try and be the part, just so we don't feel rejected by people. And all of this is coming from fear. One of the things that I know about fear, when it comes to rejection and not being comfortable being yourself, is that you really it requires you to do deep work. It requires you to figure out who you are and try and be comfortable with that person. Like, one of the things for me is, like, I wanted to be the same person at church and that I could be with my friends and family. You're going to get the same Whitney, because nobody has time to be switching it up and all these different things. And it's really fake, right? Now there's a level of being, I'm at work, so I have to be, professional, or I have to do this, but to be a totally different person in one environment than you are in another, that's actually, like, if you think about it, it's really kind of fake. So how do we work on ourselves to where we feel comfortable enough to be who we are in all of our environments? Girl, it's going to be less stress on you, because you ain't got to figure out, oh, do I say this around this group? Do I not say this around this group? No, this is who I am. I'm still working. I'm still growing. I may not be all the way there, but this is who I am. And this person fits into the environments that I want to be in, that I desire to live in. And so it's really one of those things of us figuring out who we are. And then one of the things I wrote was, sometimes we fear being ourselves because deep down we know we need to do work in certain areas. We don't really want to be ourselves. We know we have all this work we need to do. And if I'm myself, people are going to see that. Well, sometimes you just need to do the work. Like, sometimes we need to do the work because we're human and we're always evolving and always growing. And so this leads you to having multiple personalities. You've seen people who are one way in certain places, and you get them in another situation and they are a totally different way, because you have to put on these different masks. You have to have all these different personalities because you're not comfortable in who you really are at your core. And so sin adds to this fear, right? When you know you're living right or to the best of your ability, you don't have to worry about showing up differently around certain people. Like, you can be the same person you are in all places. So it's really a matter of you figuring out who you genuinely are, what matters to you, what your values are, what you stand for. who you're trying to be in this life, and really honing in on that and evolving and becoming that person. Like, when you become that one person, you don't have to switch it up around your church friends and then your family. You know what I'm saying? You can be the same person in all environments, and people are going to know, this is what I'm going to get when I talk to Whitney. This is what I'm going to get when I talk to so and so, because you're consistent. Nobody really likes to be, to really connect with people who are inconsistent in who they are, in their character. Like, I can trust you right here with me, but can I trust you when I'm no longer in your face, type of thing, right? And that comes from us really figuring out who we are and standing on that stuff 24/7. But because of rejection, and because we fear rejection and people not really liking that person, because that person might need some work, we try and hide that and put these masks on and act different ways in front of certain people. And so fear also keeps us from telling the truth, man. Sometimes we know there's things that we need to say, but because we're afraid of how people are going to take it, what people are going to say, how it's going to affect them, how it might change our lives, we kind of hold back, and we don't really walk in that truth. And that can be a struggle sometimes. And I know, even for myself, like, there are some things that I was really, really standing firm on. And then fear of being judged, or, in my work environment, fear of really standing on what I said I believe for this situation. You know what I'm talking about. Fear of really standing on what I believe for that situation really I was fearful that it was going to cause me problems in my work life. So I had to make a decision whether I was going to fold or whether I was going to push through. And guess what? Your girl ended up folding. And like, that's when it really hit me just how powerful fear is, because fear can really shake what it is that you say you stand for and who you really say you are in the heat of the moment. And that's one of those things. It was a growing point for me. Like, hey, is this how it's going to be when, things get harder? If things get harder, am I going to fold, or am I going to really stand on what I believe? So we're all growing and learning and evolving. But if we don't take the time to recognize the power that fear has on us, it can be kind of dangerous. So fear keeps us from keeps us from remembering who we're trusting in those situations. Me being fearful about what my job was going to say. Oh, I'm just getting here. What are they going to think about this? Me being fearful of that was showing that I really didn't have enough confidence, or I really didn't have my trust in who I said I believe in, which was God. So, just evaluating life, man, and thinking about where you are and what you're doing, how you live, and decisions you're making will make you recognize, like, man, I really got to step it up. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the case for all of us. So, a few things. How do we overcome fear? I got 3 things that I wanted to share with you guys. The way we overcome fear is, number one, we recognize and acknowledge that it's there. And the way that you recognize and acknowledge that you have fear there is by reflecting, thinking about, am I fearful? Do I want to do things, but I end up stopping because I'm afraid of what people might say? You know, what's going on with me? Why do I react in certain situations the way I do? Am I fearful of something? Am I fearful of being hurt? Am I trying to control certain stuff that I don't have the ability to control? So reflecting and really just thinking about where you are in these situations when you feel fearful is going to help you acknowledge it. Be honest with yourself in those fearful situations. Like, man, I'm afraid right now. Why am I getting emotional? Why am I feeling fearful in this very moment? And evaluate your patterns around areas that you feel fearful in. Like, if you feel fearful in trusting people, what do you do when people start to get too close? Is that normal? Is that rational? Like, think about those things in the heat of the moment. The second thing you do to overcome fear, and these are things that have just worked for me, right? In my process of overcoming fear. The second thing you do is that you have to deal with it. Point blank, period. You have to deal with it. Are you being rational? Are your emotions leading you? Like, when we get fearful, emotions start to take over. You get excited, you get angry or sad or enraged, or all these different things. What's taking over? Are your emotions telling you what to do in a situation? Are you thinking with your emotions and how you're feeling? Or are you actually thinking about what's going on in the moment? And are you prepared, or do you need to do work, sis? Like, do you need to work on yourself? Or, sometimes we're fearful because we don't quite know what we need to do. Maybe you got to do some work in order to get in a better position to be able to do the thing that you want to do. And that'll give you more confidence to step out on it. And then you really got to think about, where did it stem from, right? When it comes to fear, where did this fear stem from? Daddy issues is a big deal for a lot of women. Where are these daddy issues stemming from? Where are these emotions in my relationship stemming from? Are they coming from daddy issues? Are they coming from something that happened in my childhood? You really got to deal with these things, because somebody can pray for you, but if you don't deal with the issues that you're really having, as soon as they're done, the issues are still there, right? So we have to deal with it. We have to take actionable steps to deal with this kind of stuff. And then you also have to ask yourself, where's the lie? When I'm feeling fearful, something is telling me that I can't do it. Where's the lie? Can I do it? Or am I just afraid? You know what I'm saying? Like, am I prepared? Or, can I really not do this thing? And the third step, y'all know I had to sprinkle this in here, okay? The third step is to seek help from God, right? Who are you really relying on? When we become fearful, it's because we're really trying to do everything in our own strength. We're trying to control people. We're trying to control situations. We're trying to control things that a lot of times we have no control over. And that makes us feel fearful. If you can control everything that's going on, you feel a little bit better. Yeah, I got this. I never hurt myself, right? But you also got to flip that and think about using the power that you do have. You have the power to make better decisions. You have the power to use wisdom, to use good judgment, to, filter out the bad people that you might be used to getting in relationships with, or filter out the unpreparedness that you've been thinking about using to go into starting a business that's going to require you to invest money in it. So it's like, man, taking that power and using what you have to control, but also knowing that, man, I need to really rely on God. And finally, not finally, but make better decisions. A lot of times we're not making good decisions. And when we continue to make bad decisions, we get fearful because we don't know, if is that going to come back on me? Like, am I going to reap what I've been sowing all these years? And it will keep you in bondage and not allow you to truly, truly live your life. So making better decisions puts you in a place where, hey, maybe there's a really high possibility that really good things are going to happen to me because I'm making good decisions, right? So make good decisions, sis. And then I want to say, get your spiritual strength up. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians 12:9, his strength is made perfect in our weakness, which means when we are weak, he finds pleasure in that. He uses his strength when we are weak. So if we understand that, man, the times that I'm weak, the times that I'm feeling down, that's the time that I really am supposed to be calling on God, because I can't do it all. It really gives us a better perspective. Like, man, I'm not supposed to fix this. I'm not supposed to know it all. And so I think that if we can get into the position where we are thinking about those things, where we are getting our spiritual strength up, where we're, listening to sermons and trying to study the Bible on our own, surrounding ourselves with people who think like we think, and are trying to grow in the direction that we're growing in, you really have no choice but to improve, but to grow. And so I just wanted to encourage you, like, being fearful because you feel weak or inadequate because you're not capable of doing it, that's a good thing, because you know what? At that point, you have to rely on God. Now, listen, if you think you finna go out here, Lord, I know when I'm weak, you make me strong. And then you're going to go be like a stripper or something and ask the Lord to bless you with all the money and make it rain for you because you out here stripping and you really want him to come through and be strong for you when you weak. That ain't going to work, sis. It's got to line up with his word. So, thinking about what you're doing and making life so that you're trying to do the right thing to the best of your ability. We can't be perfect, man, but we can try to live a life that's pleasing to God. And when we fall short, he will be our strength. So, hey, that's all I got for you guys tonight. I hope that this was insightful for you guys. I hope that You'll think a little bit differently about fear and whether or not it is controlling you. And we will continue to go forward with the Woman Intentionally podcast this year. If you are not already following me on Instagram, go follow me at Simply Whitney K. That's Whitney with 2 T's. You can head over to the womanintentionally.com. And the podcast is available on all platforms. If you have questions for the podcast, you can ask them on the website anonymously, or you can ask us a question in the comments and we will get back to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Live your life, sis. Live it, do your thing, but do not forget to woman intentionally.